Dolly the Sheep, genetically engineered as a clone. Genetic engineering is the human manipulation of DNA as well as a manipulation of any organism's genome. It usually involves transferring DNA between eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells. The process usually involves taking DNA from an organism and then inserting that DNA into a different organism. It's used most often in modifying food products like vegetables and fruits. The debate on GMOs is divided fairly equally. Half say that GMOs can help with the crop shortages and curing diseases, while the other half argue that it isn't right or natural to produce solutions using a method that isn't God's will. The issues with GMOs are that they can be harmful to human health and have negative environmental impacts, such as a genetically engineered crop becoming toxic to other wildlife.
Animal cloning. What is animal cloning? Animal cloning is taking a certain gene of the autosomatic cell from an animal and using it to create an exact identical copy of that animal. In Dolly's case, it was taking the cell of a Paul Dorset and then implanting that into the embryo of a black-faced to create an identical copy of the Paul Dorset.
What does cloning involve? In the case of Dolly, donor cells in their growth stage from a 6-year-old Paul Dorset were taken and then grown in culture. Then an egg cell with its chromosomes removed was placed next to the donor cells. Next, an electric shock was used to fuse the cell and start development once the embryo was created. It was implanted into a surrogate mother, which then gave birth to Dolly, a Paul Dorset.
Cloning animals addresses problems in medicine, reviving endangered species, bringing back dead pets, drug production, and livestock. Cloning would help advance medicine and create treatments for diseases that affect humans. Animal cloning could also help increase the numbers of endangered species. The most significant problem that cloning animals would impact is the production of high-quality milk and meat. Cloning livestock would benefit the production of milk and meat and allow for there to be an ample amount of it. Cloning could also address the problem of drug production helped by cloning cells and genes of animals that have a trait that can help to further drug research.
Our belief.
We believe animal cloning is
Unethical. What are the disadvantages?
An advantage of successfully cloning Dolly was that cloning was now being considered a way to increase the numbers of endangered species worldwide. Cloning endangered species would benefit ecosystems wildly since it would allow for more genetic diversity within the population that it's put in. There would be a higher success rate for cloned endangered species that live in the same habitat together. Also, cloning endangered species would allow us to preserve them. Cloning endangered species would allow us to continue their genetic line, and using a surrogate that is closely related to the species would allow for it to be more successful. Cloning endangered species would improve conditions in different places since it would allow for advancement in gene therapy procedures that had helped humans. It would also lend to habitat conservation of the species, which would benefit different places since it would allow for a large variety of animals. Different places need the biodiversity that cloning endangered species would provide.
Other advantages of animal cloning are cloning can be used to create stem cells identical to the animal. Clone cells can be used for growing entire organs. And finally, clone cells from a diseased animal can be used to understand the disease and create treatments. Implications of this advantage are exceptional for medical research. Cloning stem cells can reduce waiting times, and stem cells can be cloned to be anything you want.
What are the disadvantages?
The disadvantages are the success rate of cloning is very low due to many complications. Cloning through somatic cells of animals is very low. The success rate is 0.1% to 3%. That means that out of 1,000 tries on 30 clones were successful. Even so, the clones don't live long due to the enucleated egg and the transferred nucleus may not be compatible. An egg with a newly formed nucleus may not begin to divide or develop properly. Implantation of the embryo into the surrogate mother might fail, and the pregnancy itself might fail. The advantage of animal cloning is that the cellular age of a cloned animal is greater than the biological age. This discrepancy with age creates tremendous problems for the cloned animal. With Dolly, she died too young at age 6 due to lung disease, obesity, and arthritis, which is more common in older sheep. These problems stem because Dolly was a clone. At age 6, sheep are still young and are generally healthier. The factors that cause
created using Powtoon.